Solving equations with radicals, part 2. In this video, we'll solve equations with radicals that require squaring a binomial, and we'll check the results in the original equation to eliminate extraneous solutions. The square root of 5 minus w equals w plus 1. Well, let's get rid of the square root. We'll square both sides. And be careful on the right because we're squaring a binomial here. And that means we're doing w plus 1 times w plus 1. Exponents don't distribute over addition. And so we're going to get a middle term here. W squared plus 2w plus 1. On the left, the square and the square root cancel out, and we have 5 minus w. Well, let's get everything to one side. We're going to subtract 5 from each side and add w. That's going to give us 0 equals w squared plus 2w plus w is 3w, and plus 1 minus 5 is minus 4. We can factor that quadratic. It's going to be w plus 4, w minus 1, because positive 4 minus 1 gives me positive 3 in the middle, and positive 4 times negative 1 gives me negative 4 at the end. Well, that gives me two solutions, either w plus 4 equals 0 or w minus 1 equals 0, and so w equals negative 4 or w equals 1. Well, let's try those solutions back. In place of w, I'll try negative 4, and the square root of 5 minus negative 4 is the square root of 9. Negative 4 plus 1 equals negative 3. A square root can't equal a negative. That means that w equal negative 4 cannot be a solution to this equation. What about w equal 1? Well, let's put 1 in. That gives us the square root of 5 minus 1, which is 4, equal to 1 plus 1. 2. That is true. So w equal 1 is a good solution. W equal negative 4 does not work back in the original equation. Those solutions are called extraneous. They're extra and they aren't good. Here's an exciting problem with two square roots. I'd like to start by getting 1 alone on one side, so I'm going to add the square root of x plus 3 to each side, so that I've rewritten the equation as the square root of 3x minus 2 is equal to 1 plus the square root of x plus 3. My next step is to square both sides. And when I do that, on the left, the one I have alone, the square of a square root, just simplifies to the expression inside. But the one on the right is squaring a binomial. One term is 1, and the other is this expression, square root of x plus 3. So when I expand that, multiply it out with FOIL, I'll get 1 plus 2 times that expression plus the same expression squared. And when I fill it in, I can simplify it. 1 plus 2 times the square root of x plus 3 plus the square root squared gives me the inside by itself. I'll combine like terms, but unfortunately I'm not in shape to solve yet because I still have a square root in the equation. Well, let's get that square root alone on one side. If I subtract x and 4 from each side, I get 2x minus 6 equals 2 times the square root of x plus 3. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and that gives me x minus 3 equals the square root of x plus 3. So we've got to this point, x minus 3 equals the square root of x plus 3. And we'll just have to square both sides again because there's still a square root. X minus 3 squared is x squared minus 6x plus 9. And the square root of x plus 3 squared is just x plus 3. Now I'm in a good position to solve the equation because I can get everything together in a nice quadratic equation. X squared minus 7x plus 6 equals 0. And factor x minus 6, x minus 1 equals 0. And so x minus 6 equals 0 gives me a solution of x equals 6. And x minus 1 equals 0 gives me a solution of x equals 1. But we can't forget the crucial step of checking those solutions in the original equation. Well, let's put 6 in and see what happens. The square root of 3 times 6, which is 18, minus 2 gives me the square root of 16. And I'm subtracting the square root of 6 plus 3, which is 9. And it should equal 1. 4 minus 3 does equal 1. And so x equals 6 is a good solution. Let's try x equal 1. So the square root of 3 minus 2 is the square root of 1, and the square root of 1 plus 3 is the square root of 4, and that should equal 1. So 1 minus 2 equals 1. Not true. Since 1 minus 2 equals negative 1, x equals 1 is not a solution.